in the mountains of Eastern Europe, there's a place where silence feels alive. A small village once stood here, homes, laughter, the scent of bread baking at dawn. And then, one night, it was gone. No bodies, no signs of struggle, only footprints, leading into the forest and stopping halfway. What happened to the people of Vesnica Hollow? A mass disappearance, a forgotten curse, or something much older that came to reclaim what was once its own? Tonight, we follow the trail of the village that vanished overnight, only footprints left behind. Welcome to Midnight Myths. High in the Carpathian foothills of Eastern Europe lies a region once called Vesnica Hollow. Its soil was rich, its air filled with pine and smoke from hearth fires. For generations, 30 families lived there, farmers, weavers, shepherds. They worshipped, loved, and fought like any other people. But unlike other villages, Vesnica Hollow was never marked on any official map. Locals said the hollow was cursed ground, built atop an ancient burial site, where the earth occasionally moved. Some said they'd seen faces in the trees or lights hovering above the valley at night. Others claimed the village was protected by old gods, sleeping beneath its soil. It was the 12th of November 1913. A cold front had swept across the valley and the villagers prepared for winter. That evening, a traveling priest named Father Alexei arrived, exhausted, frostbitten, his clothes torn. He claimed he'd been walking for days after losing his horse on the trail. The villagers welcomed him, offering shelter in the church house. But according to the last surviving letter found decades later, Alexei was uneasy. He wrote, "I hear singing from the forest after sunset, not human singing, the kind that vibrates in the bones, the kind that knows your name." That was his final written word. When a supply wagon from the next town arrived 3 days later, they found the village empty, doors open, meals half-eaten. Every clock had stopped at precisely 2:43 a.m. Animals roamed freely. Chickens pecked at dust. But there were no people, not even footprints leading out of the village. At least, not at first. Then, just beyond the main square, investigators found something strange. Hundreds of footprints circling the well. Bare feet, small and large, all leading into the forest and fading abruptly mid-path, as if their owners had simply dissolved into mist. Search parties scoured the woods for weeks. They found scraps of cloth tangled in branches, children's toys wedged in roots, and symbols carved into bark. Spirals, eyes, and hands with too many fingers. One hunter, who later refused to speak publicly, said he found a circle of stones deep in the forest. Inside that circle lay the belongings of every missing villager. Rings, boots, wooden tools, arranged neatly as if placed by unseen hands. No human footprints surrounded them. Centuries before Vesnica Hollow existed, the land belonged to the Dacians, an ancient people who believed the forest was a living god. They performed rites to appease the mothers of the soil. Spirits said to emerge once every 100 years to reclaim their children. When the Romans came, they built a small fortress nearby and later abandoned it after reports of entire patrols disappearing into the mist. Over time, the villagers who settled there forgot those stories, until perhaps the night they were remembered for them. In 1971, a geological team rediscovered the valley while mapping the region. They found ruins, stone foundations buried under moss, traces of pottery, and a church bell half sunk in mud. No human remains, but they detected high magnetic anomalies, strange readings that interfered with their instruments. A local historian, Dr. Andrei Kozma, proposed that Vesnica Hollow may have suffered a sudden landslide or gas release from underground caverns. But this theory never explained the missing bodies or the footprints. In 1999, a mountaineer named Eliza Popescu camped in the same region. She reported waking at night to the sound of children laughing. When she stepped outside her tent, she saw faint lights moving through the trees, 30 of them like lanterns, drifting in silence. She described hearing voices speaking in an old dialect she couldn't place. One voice whispered from the dark, "You shouldn't have come." Her camera captured nothing but static and mist. The hollow is silent now. No one lives there. No paths lead in. Yet locals say after heavy rain, when the earth is soft, you can still see footprints, dozens of them, appearing briefly in the mud before fading into nothing. They say the villagers never truly left, that the forest simply took back what was always hers. Because in some places, the earth remembers. What would you do if your entire world vanished overnight? Would you follow the footprints or turn away before the forest whispers your name too? In 2004, an ethnographer named Marta Ionescu became obsessed with the story of Vesnica Hollow. She spent years studying local myths, interviewing the last surviving families who claimed ancestral ties to the vanished village. Marta's research notes, later recovered from her abandoned car, reveal a disturbing pattern. She discovered that every 100 years, small clusters of disappearances occurred across the same mountain region. Not wars, not accidents, just vanishings. In her final entry, she wrote, "Ikad, they aren't gone, they're still here between layers of time, trapped where the forest folds in on itself." 2 days later, Marta disappeared during her expedition. Her tent was found untouched, her voice recorder running. The last 17 seconds contained only footsteps, crunching in snow, and breathing. Then silence. In 2016, a mining survey team stumbled upon an underground cavity while drilling near the Chedasou, Vesnica region. Inside, they found remnants of stone structures, arched doorways, carvings resembling human faces distorted in agony. At the center lay a deep sinkhole, and surrounding it were footprints, hundreds of them pressed into the hardened clay, circling endlessly around the pit, each one perfectly preserved, as if made only hours before. When the team attempted to photograph the site, their equipment failed. Every image came out black, save for faint white outlines resembling hands reaching upward. The site was sealed the following week, officially for safety reasons, unofficially for reasons no one dared to write down. Villagers from nearby towns began reporting strange dreams. They spoke of a woman in white, her face hidden by a veil of roots. Whispering through the trees, she would say, "The earth is lonely. Come home." Children woke with dirt beneath their fingernails. Elderly residents claimed to hear knocking from beneath their floors at night. And in spring, the first flowers in the valley bloomed in perfect circular patterns, matching the layout of Vesnica Hollow. It was as if the ground itself was trying to remember. Folklorists later proposed what they called the mirror theory. According to legend, Vesnica Hollow was built on a rift between two realities, a thin place where reflections live their own lives. The villagers, they believed, did not vanish. They simply crossed over. One tale tells of a time when people could trade places with their reflections, but only during the hollow night, when the moon's reflection disappears in still water. To those who believe, Vesnica Hollow became a mirror village, a place that still exists, visible only to those who have already been chosen by the forest. Acoustic researchers once recorded the soundscape of the valley. When the playback was slowed to 10% speed, a repeating pattern appeared. A deep resonance, almost rhythmic, as though echoing a chant. Some said it resembled an ancient Dacian lullaby. Others heard human voices murmuring in forgotten dialects, and a few heard their own names whispered back through the static. The researchers destroyed the tape. Today, Vesnica Hollow is nothing more than a name on an old folktale map. No official record, no coordinates. But hikers who lose their way in the Carpathians sometimes find an overgrown trail, a path lined with carved stones. They say if you follow it long enough, you'll hear children laughing, smell burning wood, and see smoke rising from unseen chimneys. And if you keep walking, you'll reach a clearing where the air feels heavy, as though time itself holds its breath. That's when you'll see them. Faint, bare footprints, forming slowly in the mud, right beside your own. Maybe the villagers of Vesnica Hollow didn't vanish. Maybe they went where we can't follow, to a place between memory and soil, between myth and time. Every legend starts as truth, twisted by the years, and every truth eventually becomes legend. So if you ever find yourself in the Carpathians and the forest seems to whisper your name, remember the hollow, because sometimes it remembers you back. If you've made it this far, you already know some stories don't fade. They wait in the dark. If you want to keep searching for what hides between truth and legend, join us, subscribe, and let the next myth find you at midnight.